I saw you before. Your name, Mr. Manzo Amishi. Borno, Mr. Sunday Dika. Secretary General Suleiman is within the premises. These are the Conaecda national officials. Thank you very much. Hello? Where's the chairman of CISPA? Bro, please, I would like to recognize Professor Nenford Gomwok, former Vice Chancellor of University of York. He is the chairman of our community fund in Conaecda, and the secretary of the community fund is here. Please, let's address. We want to tender the apology of the chairman of the advisory committee on indigenous and minority people's rights, Professor Yusuf Turaki. He called me last night in Akwanga last night. Some part of the car got burnt, and they will have to fix the car today before he would move. So he sent his greetings and his apology. Now, the state delegations. Can you stand up? Thank you, Plato. Please clap for them. I know that more, sit down. I know that more of the Plato people are coming. We have these two that are always cracked against the Plato. It is said that the nearer the place of worship, the farther away you are. Because the people who are nearest always come late. Please, Plato. Now, Kaduna, where are the Kaduna people? I can't see them yet, but some of them were telling me where I don't know where they are. They thought that Kaduna is close, that they can live up here, but they don't know the nature of it. It is not like that. Where from Manchok, you take 1 hour to come to Jos. Now you need more than that, because there are so many. Major, you are welcome.
A week ago today, there was a notification where over 15 people were killed. Not see us in the matter.
Bauchi, Gombe, Taraba, Adamawa, Kebbi, Niger. You are welcome. Yes. Now, who have I missed? Everything. A seat of power. You know, journalists were chasing me. Pastor K, you will talk. The journalists were chasing me to come and talk about Gumi, saying that heaven will come down if they don't remove the current minister of the FCT. And that, so I said, okay, they want me to talk as Conaecda coordinator. I said, fine, but I would have liked the original inhabitants of FCT to say before I would say any other thing. Because I don't even think they will agree to have a Gwari man or a Kakanda man or a Basa person as the minister of FCT. I think they think that the minister of FCT should always come from somewhere else. So please sit down. Now, any other? So we expect, as usual, that the Bauchi people will come in later. Because they do think that they are close enough that they can afford to come late. Or they can afford to live there and come here and arrive. When they do come in, we'll let you know. You are all welcome. Yes.
Thank you, Coordinator, for that introduction. I guess now, if you are introducing ourselves, we know ourselves. At this moment, we take the word of others from the conference president. Let me tell you about this. This year's conference. Yes, because the reality of the day, the practice of the process is very complicated. And what we learn about that we continue to globalize. 10 days we regard alliance. We come, we talk, we go. And I think that is today. If you don't know that, there will also be together. In our meetings, we thought that if we are not yes, then even business will not be. So living together becomes very. That's why our living together is very, very important. university. One of the critical problems we want if you collect what when we give them a chance, they can change our world. For the people that we are using family now, you really talk. Some will say our women is connected to women talk. We are allowed to express the mind. That's the new for the yeah, you are doing it. And you saw the very program you want to see and we can our guests, we welcome all of you and we hope you are coming here with really all and together we will not only let's move. We do this all of the meetings, usually the demand of so what I can do. That's all what the remaining we so that in the end, I want to give this moment is he was secondly going to Japanese and go professional shape. Yes. We can talk about the first times. I pray that all the solutions or half of the solutions don't keep the items. Quindi non ci chiama, quindi posso rappresentare devono città, ok? Guarda, sì. Ciao. Ricordavo che se quello che stavo dicendo. Una sì, non sarà più il Good morning. What's who began was the function. Yeah, so he said the whole thing is great, men and women in this progress. I was welcoming very important meeting that I want to discuss very much the needs of Nigeria as a whole. I want to tell you too that government of Plateau State, the mission of government of Plateau State is to strengthen the unity on the plateau by promoting the spirit of conscious cooperation and inclusion among its people for attainment of its goal, of shared goal. And what you are doing here is all about preaching the gospel of peace, unity. We are behind you as a government. We always support you. We want to thank you because you are the government. Democracy says democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people. And without you preaching peace in your community, there will be no government. And therefore, want to say big thank you to you as leaders for what you've been doing for us to have relative peace in our country, in our state, in our community. As an association, we also want to appreciate you for contributing economically to the welfare of your members, which also help the government. Government cannot be everywhere, but you are also part of the government. We want to assure you that government of Plateau State is a government that is inclusive for travel, religion. It accommodates everyone. That is why Plateau State is called for peace and tourism. I wish to advise you that always key into the vision and mission of any government, because leadership is given by government, and God certainly must give that person something that will guide, lead the people to success. We want to encourage you that please continue to preach the peace in your community as you go back. On this note, we want to thank you, want to wish you successful celebration, and wish you safe journey. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We would like to invite Anatu Onam, the Assistant Director of the National Competition Agency, to come and give us her own goodwill message.
Chairman of this conference, I permit me to stand on the already established protocol. I want to sincerely thank you for this opportunity given to the National Orientation Agency. My name is Hannot Unana. She wished sincerely that she would have been here in person, but she regrets her inability to be here, and she has asked that I should warmly extend her regard and best wishes to this conference. And she's wishing that everything that will be done here, all that will be deliberated at the end of it all, it will be successful. We, the National Orientation Agency, are your servants. We are your servants in the sense that we have a mandate to serve Nigerians as a whole. In the National Orientation Agency, we mobilize, we enlighten, and we reorientate the public on government programs, policies, activities, and so many other things. And I can assure you that what you are doing here is already recognized and covered, in the sense that we have a feedback mechanism. Whatever it is that is being done, the responses of the people are taken back to government, so that government can know the reactions of the people and then act accordingly. So I can assure you that whatever it is that is being done here, certainly our reports will not just remain here, but it will reach the presidency, so that whatever it is that they need to take action, be rest assured that they will do that. In the National Orientation Agency, we are all over the place. Where this conference covers, we have our officers there on the ground. And we do a whole lot of things. There is citizens engagement. We have town hall meetings. We engage stakeholders, state and non-state actors in various activities. And we are at the forefront of ensuring that we promote peace. We have a lot of engagements with people who talk peace, who promote peace. I know as far back as 2005, we've been engaged with the emergency preparedness and response team, where we meet on a common ground to ensure that peace reigns. It is a team that is made up of different personalities. We have people from different walks of life, different faiths that come together to ensure that there is a common goal of ensuring peace reigns. So we do a whole lot, and I am glad to be here. Seeing the caliber of people on this side of the table and the other side of the table, I am comfortable that you mean business here. And I know that whatever it is that will be done today and beyond, it will help to promote peace and lift us to greater heights. I felt a little bit uncomfortable when I looked around and I saw that there are very few people like me in this hall. When I talk about people like me, I mean women. I thought that I would see a lot of us here, but I can just count a few numbers. But all the same, I want to believe that the few that are here, you count. That is why you are here. And I believe that you have a voice, and that voice will be heard in the society. I want to sincerely once again say thank you for giving us the opportunity to enter into this space and to rub minds and learn from one another. And I wish us a successful deliberation. At the end of it all, I believe that whatever it is that we're going to do here will not just remain here, we will carry it and cascade it so that it will help this nation to grow. Once again, I sincerely thank you all.
Thank you. Anyway, I think the high table now is gender friendly. There's no calculated attempt to exclude our women from participation. So I think we need more mobilization. Thank you very much. We'll give this time to our royal father, the Mishkon Magabu, who is represented by Mr. Paul, to speak to us as a father. Our royal fathers are our fathers in this organization. Mr. Paul. Okay.
I want to stand on the existing protocols that have been established. And I want to express the joy of seeing this association. It's something that will change the history and the activities in Nigeria. First and foremost, I want to give the apology of my principal, Mr. Muhammad, who would have loved to be here himself, because he takes things like this very seriously, and it is the bedrock of the traditional rulers. When you have unity amongst the people, the subjects that they rule, they are very happy about it. But because of other engagements, he could not be here. So he said, on his behalf, he tenders his apology. Next, if there's any that does not fall at the same time with some of his activities, he will personally be here himself. And having said that, I would want to say that this conference that we are holding, very timely. This is the time that we need all of us to come together. We come together so that we'll be heard. At times, when you are at the other end, you don't know that you have a brother over there. And when you have a brother there and you don't meet, you easily forget yourselves. But once you create time like this, to keep meeting, it makes it easier for even the traditional rulers. The traditional rulers, when they see this unity going on, you will be like a preach to them, where now they themselves will start to meet and to be one. When we hear that some people are coming from Cape State, some from Borno, Yobe, and all whatnot, you feel whenever you travel to such a place, from Benue and you travel to Cape, you know that you are at home because you have members that you met at this association with, and you know they exist here. You don't feel completely like a stranger. And if there's a connection, you go there and you feel at home. One of the things that has kept us without much making progress is fear of the place that you are going to go. You think that you are going to go to a place that will not meet your own people. But if there's a meeting like this, association like this, you will feel free you will be at liberty. You will drop away the fear and go where business has called you, and go and have fellowship with your brothers, and go and interact with one another. There may come a time, just as we've had what the people in National State have done, with the help of some of the members that are coming even from Plateau State, like the professor who helped and helped and helped. We know that anything is possible if we come together. We have been put under fear that we are the only ones in our corner. But by the time that we keep meeting like this, we know we're not the only ones at our corner. We have others that are willing to work with us. By the time we join hands together, we'll be a force to reckon with. And therefore, I want to encourage you to take this organization very seriously. This is the organization that is going to salvage many of us and our children. I am sure that our children will now grow and be proud of where they are coming from. Previously, you'll find some of us, because we think that we're the only ones, tiny ones in our corner. When we get out of our environment, we try to change our identity. Some may even claim tribes or some places that they have not come from, because they think they are only so tiny that it's not known. But by the time that we come out and we meet each other like this, we know that we are one. More so, if we have a visit and we see our cultural activities, our ways of life, they are all similar. Just geographical locations that has so divided us. But our culture, our thinking, ways of life are the same. And therefore, who knows, is our prayer. One day, one of these members of this association may come out to want to govern the whole country. Then will he find it difficult when he knows that he has someone in Kwara State, there's a contact man in Kebbi State, another one in Taraba State, another one in Yobe State, and so on. So give him confidence, so that we one day encourage our children that have ambition, that they too will now get a stepping stone that they will step on. But we will also know that we have no other country, no other place than this one, than our own here, and therefore we participate in it. I want to say here that let nothing divide us, whether it's religion or gender, should not divide us. God knows first and foremost who you are, and has decided to drop you in that corner, in that tribe, in that culture. It is with his knowledge, it's not by accident. And you are there to bring changes, not to dodge from it, not to be shy, not to be ashamed. If you do that, it means you are telling God, you made a mistake, put you there, you don't belong there. But when you confidently come out and thank God for being there and walk there and shine his light there and work for your people, he will be proud of you. Whether you may not have to be the same faith. First, even if you are a Christian or you are a Muslim, please do not despise this meeting and put it for that is for some set of people. Your religion does not stop you from becoming, identifying with your people. After all, it's God that put you here. And it becomes easier for the traditional rulers when they see that there is unity like this. It is easier for them. When there is a problem, they know where to get each other. They get more confidence knowing that their people are many and they are behind them. And therefore, with this, I want to assure you on behalf of the Honorable that the traditional institution is fully behind you, is going to give you full support on this. If there is anything that you want specifically from them, let him be the contact man so that he will take this to other professional rulers as he has bothered about it and want to hear. I want also to assure you that what I have seen here and heard here, I'm going to narrate them to him. I assure you that there's nothing that is too small or too big for him. He takes everything very, very seriously, and I want to assure you this cooperation when it comes to this. With this, I would want to say that you have the blessing of the traditional rulers, the blessing of the fathers of the land. And with this, I wish you a very successful conference. And that at the end, whatever you decide on here, let it not be a light that is lit and put under the table, but let it shine. Take it back. When you go back to your various communities, call them to and sit with them. Please do not leave the traditional rulers in your places behind. Let them know about it and bring them together so that at the end, it will be, when it catches fire, it will be everywhere. You will find that you will have support everywhere. And with this, God will help us. And I wish you all the best and a successful conference in Jesus' name. Thank you.
More applause for our traditional rulers. Thank you, thank you. We'll take the opening remarks from the National Coordinator, Dr. Z.A.A. Bonnet.
Thank you, Frank Kuri. My own opening remarks are about this conference. You will see that we want to assess our 10 years of experience as Conaecda. We held our first national conference in 2014, and there were more than 300 ethnic groups that attended that at earlier said. Now, mark what I am saying. Our ethnic nationalities are registered to be members of Conaecda. We used to have and solicit for and get support from members of the political class. The Conaecda leadership sat down and we said we were not going to do so again because our community leaders were now developing what we call a dependency syndrome. If the political people did not give them money, they will start saying they don't have money to attend the conference. And the conference belongs to you. It doesn't belong to them. They are members of our communities, quite okay. So at the time we started implementing that, the attendance drastically dropped. But over the last few years, it's been picking up as people are getting more and more committed. More and more committed. The attendance from the various nationalities is been picking up. And we we have to do that because you have to pay your way through for the organization that you are a member of. That's one. Two, it is not an individual membership organization of the elites. It is an organization of the associations of our communities. Now, it is you who are the leaders of you are the elected leaders of your community. Since 2014, we've been grappling with the problem of violence, terrorism, conflicts, killings of our people, the destruction of our communities, the displacement of millions of people. If you have noticed, the Borno and Yobe attendance has been problematic because most of our people in southern Borno and in Yobe have been displaced from their communities. They don't live in their homelands, in their ancestral lands. Most of them have been displaced. All this propaganda that you see on TV, we are winning this war, there is more security. The damage has already been done in terms of trying to move out our communities from their lands. Now, the question therefore arises, why all this violence? If you go into the various, a lot of people study Nigeria, and we are a country of diversity. And we decided, look, let's take a look at how have the Nigerian state, the Nigerian government, the Nigerian institutions, how have they managed diversity? Really, what is this diversity? Is it diversity in its own that is causing the violent conflict and the displacement of people from their lands? These are the issues that we've been grappling with, you've been grappling with as community leaders. Those of you that are on our CWAS platforms, on WhatsApp and other platforms, you know almost every day there are reports of attacks here and there. There are reports of killings. The Benue man there just told us how many people were killed yesterday in their own communities there. So you are the people that are chasing these things back home. So we decided to bring the experts, in addition to us talking to each other in-house, to assess our own experiences over the last 10 years. Let us bring the experts who have been studying these issues. Let them come and talk to our community leaders. Professor Best, don't be discouraged by the number of people you have seen here. Literally each and every one of them is representing an ethnic group. So you have a large number of ethnic groups seated in front of you. Their leaders are here. We invited him. He's one of the foremost international experts on these issues. Anywhere in the world, he is not from it. He is a professor of that subject. So we said, let's talk to him. You know, there was a time we used to thank Professor Armstrong at Ajo. And we said, oh, and then Professor Armstrong died just like that. And that knowledge is gone. That encyclopedia is gone. You cannot transfer it, you cannot keep it. If I am gone, everything that is here is gone. Unless, of course, I have written it and he has been writing and publishing. So we decided, let him come, let us invite the experts to come and talk to us on these matters so that we strategize. After they have given us their knowledge, the benefit of their experience, we will now discuss at plenary. Not even after they have finished presenting their papers. We will discuss at plenary the matters arising from this presentation. Essentially, there will be about four presentations. The first one is the theme of the conference, the Nigerian state, diversity management, and the crisis of terrorism and violence in the Nigerian Middle Belt. That is what the keynote speaker will address us on. When he comes up, pay as close attention as possible. I told him with a paper, when he finishes, we are going to collect it and photocopy it and give you. Apart from the issue of assessing the 10 years, which I'm going to do later during our plenary, we want to look at indigenous people's rights in northern Nigeria. Professor Kuraki was supposed to talk about the car suffered a breakdown. We wanted a review, particularly the indigenous people's rights. The documents from the United Nations are available. We have brought some from UNESCO to try and make them available. We are going to talk about other aspects of this conflict, and we invited Dr. Okut, the Director General of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution in Abuja. He accepted he was coming. We're expecting him. He's another expert. That is the job he has been put there to do anyway. You can see the way we have brought the people that we want them to address them. We are going to be talking about this thing they call sustainable development. What are the conditions for them in the central Nigerian area and the Middle Belt? Because all of us are from there. You will not see somebody from Kano here. You will not see somebody from Katsina here. You will not see somebody from Sokoto here. But you see the Middle Belt and central Nigeria here. So, what is happening to our communities? What is happening to our people? What is happening to our land? What conditions we need to create in our community for us to be able to sustainably develop our communities? What is happening in Nigeria? There is a document that the Southwest region or geopolitical zone they call it produced. What they want the Southwest to look like in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. They produced it. We have it. Do we have something like that for the Middle Belt and Central Nigeria? Of course, you know last year, you approved the Middle Belt and Central Nigeria People's Charter. Under what conditions are we going to implement them? Or pursue the actualization of our declaration in that chapter. So by the time we have discussed this, we will take our resolutions, we'll make our plans, we'll develop our programs, you will go back to implement them. You know, what we in the Secretariat have done is to address the government. We gave them our charter of demands, even before they won the election. After the election, we held a conference in Abuja. We looked at how to actualize that, send it back to them. We are doing so many other things. So you are going to have to look at some of these issues based on what they are going to present to us, what we are going to discuss at this conference. And when I sit down, I'm sure our MC is going to invite our guest speaker to speak to us. I hope that we will take away a lot of benefits from this conference, and that we are going to develop plans and programs that will come and flow directly from what we are going to learn from the presenters of these expert papers. I want to, on behalf of the conference presidents once again, and the leaders of Conaecda, to welcome you to the conference once more. Thank you very much.
Well, we are going to listen to guest speaker, but before we do that, maybe we'll just get up and stretch a bit and drag away all the sleep so that we'll be attentive to hear all that they have for us. You know, when professors start talking, we may have to. Right. Thank you very much. And I'll take our seats. It's my privilege to invite our guest speaker, Professor Shedrack Quest, to the podium to give us his lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The conference president, the convener of the conference, special guests who have been invited, my royal father, Commissioner Marvel, as represented, other officials and delegates from different states. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold, so my voice doesn't have the clarity that it should have, but I hope I'll be able to communicate. I want to thank the President for inviting me. I am not coming as guest speaker, I'm coming as keynote speaker. And there's a difference between a guest speaker and a keynote speaker. What the keynote speaker does is to provoke thinking, just point to the issues that we need to think about at the conference. And I intend to do just that. I've been asked to discuss this Nigerian state diversity management and the crisis of terrorism and violence in the Nigerian Middle Belt. I find this very apt because the ethnic nationalities those that are considered the minority ethnic nationalities north of the Nigerian nation are facing a very precarious situation at the moment. But let me begin with what a state is. A state is simply an organized political community which has a government that is not subject to another similar authority. It exercises sovereignty over its population, its territory, its resources, and has the ability to command authority and to relate with other states in terms of foreign policy. So states are characterized by the fact that they have a government, and this government exercises authority over everything and over everyone that is within the state. State is the highest form of human association. You cannot possibly find any authority or any organization that is higher than the state. And the purposes of the state are achieved through government. So every state must have a government that is functional, that achieves its objectives. The Nigerian state, as presently constituted, is a product of so many historical processes that are rooted in pre-colonial times, in the colonial period, and in the post-colonial period. So the carving of Nigeria, as we have it today, did not happen in a day. It's a product of so many processes. And some people were involved in the process of creating Nigeria. In political science, we argue that there is no state in the world that is neutral. In fact, Karl Marx suggests that the state is an instrument in the hands, he says the bourgeoisie, but it must not have to be an economic bourgeoisie. The state is an instrument in the hands of those who control it, such as the political power elite. All right? In Nigeria, it is good to make use of the political power elite because this is indeed a political class that derives its strength from the relations of power and not the relations of production. The political class is a parasitic class that draws resources from the state. It is not a producing class. It is not an investing class. It is not a business-oriented class. This is why it's a fundamaniac kind of a class. And this is the situation that in every state you would find that there are classes, whether they be economic, whether they be aristocratic, as in what was handed over from the Danfodio Jihad and affirmed by British colonial rule in the Caliphate and the Emirate system. All of these are forms of control. And so in the making of the Nigerian state, it is good to account for where we were before colonialism. In other words, before colonialism, there was no Nigeria. What you had were communities at different levels of, in political economy, we call it the transformation of the forces of production. So whereas some were at the communal mode of production, some had transited to feudalism, like in the Emirate centers, but none had achieved a capitalist mode of production. And so at the time that you had kingdoms, you had states, you had empires, like the Kwararapa kingdom of old, ancient Kanem Borno Empire. You had the kingdom of Oyo, of Ife, of the Nupe, of the, you can talk about the Sokoto Caliphate later on. So that was one of the recent ones. And of course, you can talk about the Hausa states that were all over Hausaland, or what we call Kasan Hausa. Now, all of us here, and I mean without exception, there's none of us that lives in the territory of Hausa land. Okay? We are not in Hausa land, we are in our own territory. But by some process of deliberate attempt at incorporation, there was a mental shifting of boundaries within the territories occupied by these indigenous ethnic communities. The Hausa people, you can consider them indigenous to northern Nigeria. But the Fulani were the latest of the migrants who came from elsewhere, beginning from the Senegambia and moving southward and made their entry. But the loudest announcement they did was through the Danfodio Jihad beginning 1804. And what this did was not to bring Islam. It was not an Islamic revolution, no. Islam was in Hausa land many years before even the Fulani could discover themselves. Islam was in Borno Empire as far back as the 11th century. So it was not an Islamic revolution. It was a political coup that captured power and sacked the so-called Habe chiefs of Hausa land and instead planted Fulani chiefs with flags given by Danfodio. And if you see what happened, quite frankly, I think I have sufficiently researched the jihad and pre-colonial northern Nigeria. And to tell you that the methodology which you see bandits and terrorists are using now is not different from the methodology of the jihad that the Fulani used in the early 19th century. It's exactly the same. To the extent that they will go into mosques and slaughter the imam and kill all the people that were worshipping in the name of an Islamic revolution. And so the process of creating the state began from the colonial period. We were well seated, well established in our respective domains before the coming of the colonial empire. And many of our communities resisted all forms of external incursion. We resisted all manners of invasion. Okay? We resisted all attempts to transform our communities from what they were not. And therefore, a lot of the people maintained their independence. Even during the jihad, some of the areas that could not be conquered, the Caliphate headquarters employed what they called Amana. And the Amana territories was to go into covenant so that we don't need to fight. But the other side was that the Amana states paid tributes to the Caliphate headquarters. There were those who were not Amana at all, like my people, the Mohammed people, were not Amana to anybody. We maintained absolute and total independence up until, and that was the state of many of the communities that you found in the plateau, that you found in some of the hilly locations and the thickly forested areas. Nobody was able to tax the chief, for instance, who resisted the Fulani, including Dankaro, whom the chief called Danko. So that was the situation. Now, move from there to the colonial state. What the colonialists did was to, using the instrumentality of declaration of protectorates from the crown, and secondly, the agreements reached at the Berlin Conference to create boundaries, to bring together people and to agree on territories. And therefore, they created and carved out the area called Nigeria. And of course, I'm not going to mention the role of the Royal Niger Company, which was very active in the northern Nigeria. So the North was created as a protectorate of Britain. The South was a separate protectorate, but the two were amalgamated in 1914. Now, because we are people of northern extraction, I'm going to confine my discussion to the North. So what colonialism did was to create a state out of what the declaration that it met. And what was the process of creating this place. If you are going to create a state, number one, you need a territory. Number two, you need a government. Number three, you need an economy. Number four, you need services. You must provide services. These are not-for-profit services, for example, education. When you provide education for your citizens, do not think of profit. Number two, healthcare. The health of the citizenry must be catered for. Number three, social services, including welfare and looking at those who are disadvantaged, those who are maybe people with disabilities, people who are below the poverty line. It is the responsibility of every state through its government to look after this. And so all of this happened when Nigeria, the territory was carved. For example, the Europeans introduced currency, European currency, which ended trade by barter. Monetization, the introduction of tax. So people had to start paying tax, and tax was paid in European currency. So you needed to raise money to pay tax. Banking services were introduced, and then classes began to form of people who were accumulating money. Then, as a political doctrine, they introduced indirect rule because they could not conduct elections to elect senators in 1900, in 1920. So what they did was to do what? They introduced indirect rule because they found developed traditional institutions in the caliphate, and so decided to adopt them and rule the people through their own chiefs. And in the process, many of our own communities came under confusing arrangements. The emirate centers laid claims to places that they did not even have anything to do with. They said, we are in charge of this place. And then if you look at southern Kaduna, lots of claims there. The plateau also claimed large parts of the plateau. In Kebbi, it's the same thing, from the Gwandu Emirate and downward. There were lots of claims. And so the indirect rule system became the political ideology of colonialism. Then you also had gradual constitutional reforms, such as Littleton Constitution, Richard's Constitution, McPherson's independence. So they began to introduce constitutions in order to make us test how constitutionalism works. And this is to evolve the process of government. Then, but you know, the colonialists themselves, when they did deeper studies, they found out that some of the claims of the Emirates were false. And so in 1926, they introduced under Palmer what they call Reagan administration. And what that meant was that you were going to spare some of the people away from the Emirate centers and allow them to self-administer. And it was the development of this that led to the creation of institutions like the Bongomjos, the Toti, the Longamai, and later on the Golongas, Surapia, you know, all of this. But in some other places, it was not this easy. All right? And if you remember, it was Chief Solomon Lar with his emancipation that extended this to free some of the communities from the shackles of emirate domination. In southern Kaduna, it remained a recurring notorious decimal that the Zazzau and the Jamana Emirates believed that they had the password into every other community, and so kept things under lock and key. But these eventually metamorphosed into the independence. And actually, for many of our communities represented here, if you are traditionally governed from outside, then you are not free. It impairs, it's an impairment, a hindrance to your development. So the system of administration, indirect rule, led to the loss of prestige for many of our communities because it was highly dependent on the prototype. And especially by the time you brought in the native administration, then you knew that this was blossoming on the basis of certain cultural assumptions. The educational system was not different either. The colonial educational system was based on, number one, you needed to create an aristocracy in the north. You needed to prepare and train the children of emirs and Fulani aristocrats. And so they established Katsina College, later Barewa College, for the training of the children of chiefs, so that they will take over Nigeria from the British. And the reason why they did that is well documented, is because they argued that the Fulani are more intelligent than the average Negro. So it was this intelligent race that leadership and power and government was going to be handed over. There was a deliberate policy. Now with time, later on, they decided to establish another school to take care of the children of Christians. And so it was at Omo. It's almost in Kwara State. I think it's in Kwara State. And then a third one was established for the children of pagans, which was Toro, nearby here. And so that was the kind of, so those of you that went to Toro, you went to pagan school. Okay, this was the colonial education policy. Now all these were, this foundation, I'm not just talking this, I'm telling you how the foundation of the Nigerian state was built. And those who did it, how they did it to disadvantage us, all of us, that we were not in consideration. But it affects what we do today. Now, northern Nigeria was definitely very diverse. It was diverse culturally, it was diverse linguistically, it was diverse religiously. But pre-colonial northern Nigeria was divided into two. There were the Islamic society and the non-Islamic societies of northern Nigeria. From 1900 to 1960, the separation and identification began to manifest through the following ways. I'm trying to look at how identities were created and how people who were disadvantaged were therefore disadvantaged by this identity. First of all, minorities were discriminated against, but the Fulani were clever. They knew they did not have the numbers, and so they created a convenient nomenclature called Hausa Fulani. Now, Hausa Fulani was a concept that was meant to make the Hausa who had been conquered and enslaved believe that they were one and the same thing with the Fulani. So while the Fulani held traditional political power, they increasingly accepted the Hausaization of their culture because they spoke the Hausa language, they ate kola nut like the Hausa people, they dressed like the Hausa people, and so this kind of conceptual and theoretical amalgamation of identities between the Hausa and Fulani kept the two, but the percentage was that as a bonding factor, they had Islam that kept the bond between them. The chiefs from the Middle Belt and from our communities enjoyed lower status if they went to the meetings of chiefs. Those of them who were not from the emirate centers were considered lower. The Middle Belt chiefs appointed by and through the emirs in so many places. In Adamawa, for example, the Lamido elsewhere, the Muri Emirate elsewhere over some of the both in the Taraba axis until political reforms began to change some of them. But even up to now, you still find elements of this control. There's overprotection of the emirate centers from Christian missionary activities without a corresponding action on Muslim proselytization. The insistence to keep large communities under feudal control of the emirs, the deliberate promotion of Fulani as preferred heirs to the British succession plan, the insistence that the Middle Belt people could not manage their affairs and were better supervised by more superior races. If you read the work of one of the departing colonialists, Brian Shaw Smith, about his engagement with the Emir of Zazzau. He documents it in his book. When they discussed granting independence to the southern Kaduna and non-Fulani communities, the Emir of Zazzau was, he marveled. He did not understand how people who ate dogs and who drank all kinds of substances could govern themselves. It was incomprehensible as far as he was concerned. The accounts are there of how, and you look at the demands, political demands for political independence, like the Middle Belt. If you read the account of the Sardauna of Sokoto Ahmadu Bello, My Life, in his book, as far as he was concerned, the Middle Belt agitation was nothing but an attempt by a few Christian elements who were foreseeing beautiful offices and positions in the new region. And he didn't think that it had anything to do with the aspiration of the people. One of the lessons that I learned in political theory is that never fight the aspiration of any people. If you see a people aspiring for anything, if you cannot help them, appreciate them, but don't fight them and don't oppose them, because this thing must have meaning. It must make meaning to them for them to aspire to it. And many of us got to where we are because of agitation, because of aspiration. There are people that will not really want us to be where we are. And I've listened to materials lately. The president was talking about it on the Minister of the Federal Capital. Somebody would stand up. I listened to another one who said that just Kasam Hausa, there are no Arna in Plateau. We are Plateau people. We are Plateau people. We are Christians. We are Muslims. Some of us are traditional worshippers, but we are Plateau people. And we don't look down on each other. We are Democrats. We respect boundaries. We believe that when you build democracy, when you build diversity, you build plurality, you allow people to develop the way they are. It is the Fulani mentality that came with the jihad that looks down on people and will call them Habe, will call them Arni, will call them all these kinds of names, because this is a supremacist ideology. It is not an ideology of democracy. And for many of us, our communities were egalitarian. We have not transformed into anybody becoming an overlord and oppressing anybody or calling another person names. The communities thrived on the basis of one for all for one. And that was it. And what was common, what was important to an individual had to be important to the community. What affected the community affected the individual. You are going to find this across all the communities that you represent. Not without any prejudice to whatever transformations may have occurred. And so we cannot call anybody enemy. You understand? And as far as I know, Abuja is not Kasam Hausa, it's not Fulani land, it is the land of our own brothers. That's just the naked truth. Anybody can come with any historical and anthropological evidence to base this, if they have it, but they're not going to find it. Okay. Now, let me talk about diversity and the management of diversity. How has diversity been managed in Nigeria? There have been policies, as a matter of fact. One of the earliest approaches to diversity management was the introduction of federalism as a doctrine of state from the 1947 Constitution of Richland. Now, what is the meaning of federalism? Federalism means unity in diversity. That you allow the federating units to operate independently, but to be united federally. people still think that if we are under one state, under one nation, under one government, there is need to appreciate our diversity, to respect our diversity, to manage our diversity. And some of the countries that have become strong in the world now have done so because of diversity. Why would you think that the United States is encouraging people to migrate up to now? Why are the Canadians asking Chinese, Indians, Asians, Africans, people from all over to move into? Because diversity pays. When you bring people from, once you restrict yourself, actually there is the bata girma. Is that not so? If it is only you in your household, in your tribe, in your religion, you will never grow. You will remain where you are for so long. So federalism was introduced as unity and diversity to allow them. Then there's fiscal federalism, which means sharing federally approvable revenues with the federating units. Then the creation of states, because even though we have regions, some people felt marginalized, so they want new states. I think people are still asking for new states. Is that so? Yes. My brothers and sisters from FCT, do you want a state? You want a state, right? Should FCT remain FCT or should it be a state? It should be a state. Okay. So there are still demands for states. Why do people want states? Because they feel what? They feel marginalized. All right. Now, if you create, I think my brothers, the Ilomas, you will not mind an apostate, would you? You will not mind an apostate, so that you will be free from the tea people. Is that not so? But when you go, the clans of the tea will begin to fight among themselves for power. And among the clans, some will feel marginalized. Is that so? These clans will not mind to get a state of their own. So it goes on and on and on. State creation, we have used it. Creation of local governments, relocation of local governments, we have used this to manage diversity. We have also enacted what we consider to be democratic constitutions to capture the aspirations of the people, to capture and protect the human rights of the citizens, to support the democratic institutions of the state and government, to support and promote the well-being of the citizens. That is why it is said that the welfare of the people shall be the fundamental purpose of government. Democracy as a form of government is something that we have accepted because it allows for diverse opinions. The sanctity of life, the right to own property, the right to own land, to own territory, and be defended and protected in your land by the state. Not be driven away by terrorists who will grab the land and be guarded by security agencies of the state. I was with the Nigerian Army Resource Center yesterday to give a lecture on internal security operations and national security. The crux of what I tried to discuss with them is that, okay, you have these operations. They have so many operations. Operation Zaki, Operation Hyena, Operation Safe Haven, Operation Crocodile Dance, Operation Python Dance, Operation Kamale Raji, Operation Kamadamisa, Operation. And when the operation expires, they change the name. They will renew the name. We have moved from Joint Task Force to Special Task Force to Safe Haven. After Safe Haven, it could change to another thing. And they started this operation since 2001. They're still here. When will the military leave the streets? When will the Nigeria police be positioned, be equipped, be empowered, be funded to do its work? So why should our military replace the Nigerian police? Why should the military be doing police functions? Staying at checkpoints, staying in the town, arresting people who clash over girlfriends. You know, these are challenges. But the point that I want to make is this new phenomenon that we have in many of our communities, because the Nigerian Middle Belt has become the epicenter for terrorists. And their main drive is kill people, traumatize them, let them have bad memories about the land, let them move away. We will grab the land under arms. If we have the chance, we kidnap and demand ransom, buy more arms with the ransom, and then we occupy the land. And this is happening all over the Nigerian Middle Belt, without exception. It's going on. So when we're talking about the state and government and constitutionalism and the institutions of state, now let me talk about the process of managing our diversity. This is what I'm trying to address. We have used sovereign national conference or constitutional conferences. There have been constitutional conferences in the past where we agreed on the content of the constitution. In 2014, there was a sovereign national conference, but the report was not palatable to those who believe they own Nigeria. And so the report will not see the light of the day. The neutrality of government, which may be based on majority rule, but without prejudice to the rights of the minority. The majority will rule, but the rights of the minority cannot be taken away. That is democracy. In other words, democracy as a superior political arrangement to supremacist rule, where one culture and one religion looks down on everybody as inferior and undeserving of certain accesses to political privileges within the nation. This is something we must fight. I was looking through the appointments of the BAT administration, and to be honest, the worst constituency is the Middle Belt. Just do an X-ray, look at what has happened. The Middle Belt is missing. Totally underrepresented. I'm happy, my people from the FCT, they addressed a press conference to say that they have been forgotten. They were not captured. And you are right. You did the right thing. Because you must speak. And then other groups must rise in support of you. When somebody will come from the terrorist enclave and begin to declare that somebody cannot be minister of Abuja, who gives him the audacity and the mandate to decide who sits as minister in Abuja? After all, Abuja was not built with onion money. It was built with oil money. There's also the issue of equity, equality of citizens before the law, and the rule of law, which does not place anyone above the law. We are all equal before the law, whether you are black, white, north, south, far north, middle belt, ethnic, whatever. We are all equal as citizens of Nigeria. Equitable distribution of national resources and national wealth in a manner that reduces the gap between the rich and the poor. Unfortunately, the Nigerian economy underperforms. And so the arena for accumulation is political resources. This is where people make quick money from political office. Unfortunately, because people do not succeed in business. When they set up businesses, they fail. And so what they do is quickly run for office, contest an election, then push a large part of the project there. Now, even that is a way of distribution of resources. National orientation to promote and to change our values, promotion of national integration by allowing free movement of persons and the right to settle in any part of the country that we want is guaranteed by the Constitution, but not to settle as a criminal. When you move and you settle, you must respect the customs, the traditions of the people. You do not go there to upset the people and to turn the table upside down and to create anarchy. That's not the spirit of the Constitution. the promotion of intermarriages and unity schools, a working and efficient system of government that frowns at crime, hate speech, criminalities, or which criminalizes and punishes crime and hate speech. Good governance, and all of them incorporate positive and non-sentimental security management and architecture. The evolution of powers, which includes powers over security. The proliferation of armed groups. The invitation of foreign fighters or foreign terrorists. Attacks on local communities. Killing and annihilating our communities in large numbers. Land grabbing. All of these work against the spirit of diversity. What it does is to challenge the state, and the state is supposed to. Now, if you look at all these factors I've been discussing, many of them have not worked well for us as ethnic categories in the Nigerian middle belt, or ethnic minorities in the north of the country. Now, what is the way forward? What should we be thinking about? Today, the Nigerian state is a true monster in the Leviathan Thomas Hobbes kind of description. It has been hijacked by a few persons to advance their own interests. As a matter of fact, these people had made sure that the foundations of the Nigerian state favored them. They have followed to ensure that the constitution that we operate operates in their favor. This is why Kano State alone has more members in the House of Representatives than perhaps the entire South region. What kind of federalism is that? So this is the structure of the Nigerian state. And so you cannot take as Plato and Benue people an item to the National Assembly and expect it to pass smoothly. Because somebody will ask for adjournment, and then they will go and meet in other purposes. By the time they come back, they shoot down the thing. It's not going to see the light of the day. So that is it. These are the things they have followed to make sure they institutionalize the structures of domination in order to keep us perpetually disadvantaged. And this is why you have characters like Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, who has boasted about so many negative things in this country, including how he experimented a Muslim ticket in Kaduna State, not caring whatever diversity may exist in that state. And he was proud to also sell the dollar at the federal level. However hard we may cry as a people, we will not find relief unless and until we become relevant in the national political scheme. We are not yet a power bloc. In other words, we may come from all the states that I have seen here today. We may represent so many tribes that we cover a larger part of the Nigerian nation. But when it comes to political power negotiation, we are not yet a power bloc. You understand? Nobody has yet recognized us and invited us to the table where they discuss political leadership to say that, okay, what is your interest? How do we take care of it? And I think that's the direction we must go. Until we become a power bloc and acquire a voice in the Nigerian nation. But today, our voices are hidden. The most powerful politician that the North produced, the Sardauna of Sokoto, was the leader of the Northern People's Congress. But he was not the founder of the NPC. It was Dr. Diko who founded the NPC. But when it was going to metamorphose to an instrument of political power, the Northern establishment took it from Dr. Diko and handed it over to the Sardauna of Sokoto. And you know, the slogan of the NPC was, it was Jamia Mutane Ariwa, that was the name. And they decided that they will not translate the name to English. It must remain in Hausa language. Until later on, reason prevailed, so they agreed, okay, we will translate it Okay? Then they said we are one North, one people. That was the original slogan. But later on they added, irrespective of tribe and religion. So what were they doing? They were admitting the diversity that was in the North, irrespective of tribe or religion. So the Sardauna knew that the North was diverse. Now, even if you accuse the Sardauna of anything, he was a clever politician. He was a clever politician. It's not this category of politicians who would authorize Malams to insult people using religion as demarcation to blacklist and blackmail people. It's not quite productive. So we need a voice. We need a voice. Others have accused us that we cannot be trusted. All right? And I think the middle belt before you has continued to enjoy the accusation that the middle belt is a Christian gathering, and so it cannot be trusted. The middle belt, whatever you may think of it, is part of the experience of the evolution of the Nigerian identity and Nigerian diversity. The present structure of the Nigerian state cannot give justice and opportunities to the ethnic minority groups in the Nigerian middle belt. It's an oppressive structure. The constitution is similarly oppressive and tailored to stamp out the advantages or the opportunities that people may enjoy. And these are projects, you know, this is why any attempt that you want to restructure the security architecture, they will tell you it's not going to work. If you say that you need state police, they will say, no, you cannot have state police. We prefer the federal police so that it will be controlled from the centers. Is that not so? Yes. That is it. If you want to amend the constitution, you have to amend it through the National Assembly. And you know the National Assembly as constituted, you do not have the votes to pass anything that is detrimental to the spirit of the present constitution, which was unilaterally passed by Abacha and Professor Ladubu. So, as a way forward, we need to work on unity of our communities. We need to work on creating an identity. We need to work on crossing, on building bridges among ourselves. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to problematize what exactly we stand for. And we need to package it into a commodity and sell it to the Nigerian public until it becomes a household name. We need to believe in what we are doing. For example, Joseph Tucker led the Middle Belt movement, and he was considered a very stubborn man because during the tea riots of the 1960s, the Balewa government declared a state of emergency in Tifland and sent in soldiers and killed so many people in Tifland. And J.S. Tucker, when the NPN was formed in 1979, J.S. Tucker was invited to abandon the people of the Middle Belt, like Chief Solomon Lara, to join the Corners. Martin Dent, who was a division officer in Tifland province, has written extensively on this. Interestingly, Martin Dent was my external examiner during my PhD in the United Kingdom. And after my Viva, he sat down and was telling me stories. He said, look, I was the one who convinced Joseph Tucker to abandon his opposition to the North and to come forward and join the North. I said, why did you do that? He said, because you should not leave two people in opposition. But if you know the story of Martin Dent, he is a great-grandson of William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce was a member of the British aristocracy in the House of Lords. And it was this aristocracy that produced the northern Nigerian aristocracy. And it's understandable why he would persuade Joseph Tucker to, and so you remember the big event, Boko 83, where the whole NPN converged on Boko to announce the arrival of the Tea Nation in the mainstream politics. The recalcitrant people like Plato were hanging on to Babalari, okay, because they still couldn't find clear bearing in identifying the politics of the North. Because it's okay to go, but if you have a voice and you're able to negotiate and discuss a path, and you know what is needed for you, that's fine. But if not, you will get consumed. So the immediate concern today is the conspiracy that we face in our communities, the conspiracy to degrade the land and our territories belonging to our communities by armed groups, by terrorists, by insurgents, by armed invaders seeking forceful homeland in the Nigerian Middle Belt, using clerics to refer to us as infidels, whatever. If we fail to rally around ourselves to address this problem, then it is harder to forge a common political agenda. And this is an immediate challenge that requires an immediate response. Now, in the midst of this thing, where is the Nigerian state? Where is the Nigerian state? How come there is no civil war? There is no declaration of war. And these atrocities, these terrorism acts are happening. We have just been told that southern Borno has been sacked by Boko Haram. The communities are hardly there, they're no longer there. So these are some of the challenges that we face. In conclusion, let me say that the Nigerian state was not put together to serve the ethnic minorities of the North. Indeed, we were not consulted when the Nigerian state was being carved out, nor were we even informed that anybody was going to meet in Berlin or that they were going to discuss with the Sultan of Sokoto or anybody. Those who consider themselves the primary owners of the Nigerian state were able to extract a commitment from the British colonists not to interfere with their religion, their traditions, and customs. And that was how they got the cooperation of the Caliphate. You must give us an undertaking that you not interfere with our religion, you not interfere with our tradition, you not interfere with our customs. The entire machinery of indirect rule was tailored to serve that commitment of non-interference. Till date, the Nigerian state is yet to shake off the spirit of this history and this undertaking. The terror, banditry, and insurgency that have today dismembered large sections of the communities where ethnic minorities of the North reside finds justification in this sense of ownership and domination. Terrorism and violent attacks on northern minority, largely non-Muslim communities seeks to break our resilience, it seeks to frighten us, to weaken us and our traditional institutions, to take over the land, and to reduce us to footnotes and voiceless creatures within the Nigerian state and the Nigerian political system. The strategy for survival must begin with an adequate understanding of the problem of who we are and who our partners are and who our partners should be in carving the way forward and in drawing up strategies and in creating a template, a work plan, a timeline that will help us draw strategically a plan that is not going to be achievable in 10 years, perhaps not 20 years, perhaps not 30 years. But to have a plan is to indicate that we're going somewhere. To not plan is to accept our condition today and to commit that we are not going to change this condition. And when we plan for generations yet unborn, because the generations that will come tomorrow may be the ones who benefit from this plan. But if you look at Nigeria as presently seated, definitely the state disadvantages us, and terrorism is hitting us hard because there is no shield that we can enjoy from the state. I thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wow. That's why we're here. The Nigerian state was not put together to serve or favor us. That's why it isn't. But he has just told us we need to gather like this. Plan. Not for ourselves, but the generation behind. Thank you, Prof. Nothing can be better than this. So, having listened to him, I know many of us will want to say something, but because of time, maybe we'll limit the number that will just be brief. Please, if you are given time to speak, just be brief. Straight to the point. Don't repeat. Once someone has mentioned what you want to say, that should be okay. All right? So, wow. 3 hands are already on 4, 5, 6. Wonderful. So maybe we'll start this way. But please just be brief. Everybody get to help us with the microphone. Is it only one microphone we have? Meanwhile, come and give me this one. That's it.
Thank you, Prof. I thank you very much for this stimulating lecture. You said something about the state, creation of states. And I know I can conclude that you were saying, even if we continue creating states, we're likely going to be getting groups that are marginalized. That was what I tried to conclude. I'm thinking that over the years, state creation has been done by powers above. Groups are not given the opportunity to sit among themselves and agree that we want a state. I think that is what is missing. Now I was thinking that the 2014 compact that you spoke of actually took that into consideration. Because what the conference wanted was a situation where groups agree among themselves and want to come together. Maybe if we experiment this, we use this issue of marginalization. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what your own opinion would be. Thank you.
Yeah, please, before you speak, just introduce yourself.
Sorry for omitting that. I wanted to keep your instruction to be, Marcus Savong is the name, the president of the Agricultural Community Development Association. Those of us in Plateau State. The chairman and the house. My name is Mark Zra from Kamwai, Adamawa. I want to thank the speaker and as well affirm what he said about the southern Borno. Not only southern Borno, but even part of Michigan is bordering the Borno place. Really suffering from time to time from this insurgency. Up to date, most of the people in the southern Borno are in Cameroon.
some are in Taraba, some are within the country here. So really has spoken, has given us way forward, and I want us to really take that and note it. Lord bless us.
Thank you very much.
The president and the chairman of this exhibition, all protocol observed. So my name is Engineer Ibrahim. Thank you, Manga, for. So first of all, I want to thank the presenter because he has done a wonderful presentation what he has done. And he mentioned that there are some words. He said irony, something of that nature. Please, I want to get the clarity of this some words because I had some argument with one Hausa. I asked him, why do you call people Catholic? I want to understand this word from you. And irony. And sometimes you hear, I normally hear you preaching, so those people are Jahilai, Arnawa, Kafirai. So if the presenter can at least help us to explain the meaning of such words, Gaga tomorrow we will go out. You know how to stand firm. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Go to the next slide.
Thank you.
My name is Professor Simon, National President of Tanzania Principal. Thank you, presenter, for an excellent work you have done. My hope came from this presentation that we from the middle belt are accepted who we are, marginalized. Because from the time you have elaborated from pre-colonial to this present time we are talking, we have never for any time in history arisen as a people to identify government or to find our place or our place in government or to sit down with the powers that be for self-identity. So to me, I have concluded we have accepted who we are, a subjugated community, an oppressed community, and a community that is meant to be ruled over. I am asking at this conference, can we, or are we going to continue like this? Because I know the other side, like you rightly said, what they want to achieve in 30 years is start now, not minding whether they will be beneficiaries or not. But our case is not like that. We have never championed any cause for the benefit of the generation to come. They have subjugated our parents, our fathers were subjugated, we are under subjugation, and I'm afraid if we don't lay a solid foundation, we are simply accepting who we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman, that was a brilliant presentation. The draft was my staff, that's great. So I'm not surprised. One thing I have always thought about is that we in the Middle Belt hold the balance of power for Nigeria, but we don't realize it. Simply because we have not been getting together like this. Conaecda is not 10 years old. But remember, the struggle for the minorities in the Middle Belt started
70 years ago. Many of you remember the Williams report. Was it not 53? That's 70 years ago. That is when people like David Lott, Tucker, later J.D. Donwalk, Solomon Lam, all arose to fight for Middle Belt. But it seemed that we have just laid back. And I was a bit depressed when Lord was saying it would take 20, 30 years. Why should it take that long? It's because we are not united and strong enough to fight for it. And like I said, we actually hold the political power for Nigeria. We can either think with the North or think with the South to decide where Nigeria should go. But we first of all need to come together like we are doing now. So instead of up to 30 years, like the speaker said, we should be thinking of 10 years. And if you look around, my greatest disappointment, who is the leader of the Middle Belt now? Who? Do we have any Kaka? Do we have any Solomon Lar? Is there anybody coming up? We must look at that. Conaecda, who is it that we can already organize? I remember Jan was almost doing that, but obviously it didn't work. But one thing the speaker said was that once people want something, they'll get it. It's going to happen. I want you to recall the days of Rhodesia, when Ian Smith said what? When they talk of Black Rule, he said, not in 1,000 years. How long did it take? What happened in South Africa on apartheid? Superwood, Subota, and so on. Where are they now? And it is because the people struggle. Some of us are old, getting to the other side. But you, the younger ones, the fight is still there. I want you to fight. And we're getting there. I think Shaman mentioned what is happening in Nasarawa. That is the beginning. The next should be Kaduna, my friend here. Then all over. We have the population, we have the manpower, we have the people. It's just somebody lead us to gravitate our people together so that we can achieve that. That's my comment, sir.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I'm for Congo.
All protocol to start. My name is Dr. Daniel Kobes, Secretary CDO of Kamo people of Adamawa State of Northern Nigeria. We have mentioned two states, the Kebbi State and Nasarawa State, due to the contribution of Conaecda. I am not from Borno State, I'm from Adamawa State, but I've met with people from Borno State several times, especially the Christians from the southern Borno State. Today, an average Christian in southern Borno, who are principal headmasters, receive not less than 12,000, 15,000 as a salary per month. An average Christian from southern Borno as of today receives less than 12 and 50,000 headmasters and principals. Yes, if anybody is from southern Borno, I think he can stand and attest what I'm saying. So please, what is Conaecda doing about this situation? Thank you, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I remain Comrade J.H. Awoyi from FCT, Oida Coordinator, Border Council. My prof, I want to appreciate
their presentation. That is undiluted message that we have received. My concern is this. You have mentioned something concerning FCT. Hausa are saying they have taken their position, appointing Anna to be the minister of FCT, that this FCT belongs to them. I want to say that NO, capital no. I want to make a suggestion here. In FCT, we have 9 indigenous languages. It is not because we have brought politics in everything that we do. Our present senator today, his first assignment, what we had was that Fulani and Hausa, they are indigenous of FCT. That is what is bringing to the FCT now. My suggestion, as we are here, I know that at the end of this conference, they will present a paper or a memorandum of understanding. Professor Yamanyento, I'm also a political scientist. We can never be intimidated. Very soon I'll get my PhD. I want us to write and agree. You know what the problem that we are facing is that we don't want to die. And the Bible has said it in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 21. It's only appointed for a man to die once after the judgment. Why not let us fight our cause? And when we die, we know that we are ready with God there. They are suffering. Hausa has no power to intimidate them whatsoever. They are in the Kano, Sokoto, Katsina, and not at the middle belt. So let us agree together and start fair. Let us call ourselves and agree. These people are they more important? You can see all these grazing reserve. I fought in the Guadalajara Council. The security meeting that we had at the Council, I tell them we are ready to die. Any day you bring Phil and India in the Guadalajara Council, I will end up the Guadalajara Council. So they are here today. Even they are doing one after the other. December, I made sure I shared Guadalajara Council. I'm yesterday for almost 1 week. So as we are coming here together, let us know what we are doing. We are not coming here because we are at conference, but let us know why are we here. If they can kill a lot of us, let us die and leave Nigeria for them. Let us stand up. That's my solution. Thank you very much.
My name is Maurice Aguadika, National President, Akweya Community Development Association. I want to appreciate the Prof. What I said, I think we're going to have a couple of things. He talked about voice. We must have a voice. We are talking about, let me say, an outsider now. Why not look inward? There are states that belong to us 100%, but there are minorities there who have no voice. How do we tackle this problem? Because if we are not united for the home front, we can't be united at the home front. So, like I'm from Benue State, if the government has no say, Tiffany is here. We let it ourselves aside. We have no say. What are we going to talk to our governors and so many people within the same state? Let's get that unity first. Then we can fight the enemy. If we are disunited from the home front, I don't think we can fight the enemy. I respect this. Thank you.
My name is Gabriel Adu. I am Idoma from Benue State. And I speak 6 other Nigerian languages. First of all, to the speaker, I think we had undervalued you. By thy name, you know him. His name is Shadrach, his name is Best. Yes. And so he couldn't have given us anything less. You see, the truth about our situation is the development or the existence of a nation is on 3 stands. The first stand is lamentation, where you sit and review your circumstance. The second stand is agitation, where you begin to grumble aloud. The third and most important stand is organizing yourself. I think the challenge we have is that first, we, the middle belters, or what I call the northern ethnic minorities, we do not even have a knowledge of what the state of Nigeria is all about. What can you tell your children today that is called Nigeria? Even the physical geography has been removed from or relegated to the background in our basic primary and secondary school curriculum. On the physical stand, that drawing you see as Nigeria, the northern feature of it does not exist on the ground. It's only on paper. So the state of Nigeria is still a thing we need to think about. Then secondly, having thought about the state of Nigeria, we these elements, on what basis do we exist? This is where I'm hooked onto Conaecda unless Conaecda changes its course. Conaecda seems to have the only possible direction now that this we can throw in and get some sense out of it. The Middle Belt Forum could not do that because they were focused on agitation and lamentation. But in Conaecda, there is this arrangement for us to get organized. How do we get organized? We are now coming here and talking. We are listening to ourselves. We are understanding our situation. For example, I'm an Idoma man, but I have the Idoma people in about 3 different states. I have them in Nasarawa State. I have them in Cross River State. And I have them in Benue State. And when we see ourselves, we are strangers, and we continue to be strangers. What I'm saying is this, and what I want to put across to our very learned professor is that the approach to the politics of our people should shift from the politics of personality, politics of Anai Munai, to the politics of development. How can we physically change our story? I don't want to go into the bargaining situation because I'm very conversant with their environment. There are people right from Kaduna. You saw the division. We were all alive. We woke up one morning, we say we now have 6 geopolitical zones. And we were given one called North Central. This one, North Central, Kaduna is not part of it. So what makes Kaduna Northwest? The only portion that is Northwest has gone to become Katsina State. So these are the realities we need to begin to educate ourselves. Rather than lament and say, nobody is going to listen to you. The Nigeria now that exists is dog eat dog. Everybody rise for your situation and work for your situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Ogo Adakole Prince. I'm of the Akuya region of Benue State, residing in Jos. Growth, I admire you. But how do we get to where we want to go? Your brothers, we have been separated by someone. We like the person. And who are they? Those that call us bad. How do we get to where we want to go? When they steal our money, our tax money that we pay, and they bring it to us, to drive us, so that we fight or kill our brothers. Who collect, soil our land. It's not just killing physically, that means you are one. You use that money to hire people to eliminate your own brother. What happened to my own being mother was murdered in the name of sickness. Obadiah to me was killed by his own because he voiced out. How big a part of it? Want to liberate ourselves? We'll still hand under the umbrella of another person. We feel comfortable. Our youth are suffering. Somebody with Islamic education, I'm sorry to use that, will be an accountant. Somebody that is accounting or finance and banking, because he has not gone through ICANN or ANA, he's not qualified. I use myself as an example. And I give glory to God today. I didn't go through anybody to be my job. I went to Abuja, Civil Service Commission. I met my own person, and he got my man. I was directed to go. I greeted him in Idoma. He responded in English. And the next thing, when I was asking of his family, the next thing he told me is that, you see, I'm busy. What do you want? When I explained, he told me there's no vacancy. I wish there was GSM there to have his number. I would have invited him just for night. The end is evolved. We don't know where we'll be tomorrow. Prof, thank you very much. But I want us to think, if we really need to develop ourselves and emancipate ourselves, then, just like my president said, back to our own communities. Are we relating? We cannot fight divided. In Israel, you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have Jews, but they are united because there is a war. How can we do it in the Middle Belt? If you mention Middle Belt anywhere, the Hausa Fulani man will children. You don't want to hear that name. Thank you very much.
Because of time, this is one.
Okay,
that's all. Madam, I want to say, let's be gender sensitive. Where are the women? One woman to talk.
My name is Elisha. Why are you talking about something? Adama said, by tribe. I'm the vice president of Chica and Lagos State. My own is an advice to Conaecda leadership. To make our presence felt properly in Nigeria, I think you should be able to have an interface, organize and connect people with the National Assembly or in the political class, so that we can educate them properly to carry out our business properly. Because discussing here without making our presence in the National Assembly, I think will not go much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Finally.
My name is Sunday Kakadawa, the leader of the Manga Point from Mangu State, Nigeria. I was not supposed to have said anything, but what I'm having in mind, that's why I want to point it out. I appreciate the Prof, Father, and from all he said, something caught my attention about how to manage our devices. He talked about power block approach, and I think that is very key. If you imagine nowadays, some of these communities that have been ravaged, insecurity, most of the leadership of the other communities, the only thing they do is to wait. When the whole thing has been done, then they begin to ask people to phone, send pictures of those who got injured, those who got killed in the community, how the place was ravaged, so that they can begin to send in their various platforms. That's what it is. And I believe if this conference can create another means where leaders from different communities here will understand this concept of power block approach. So that if something is happening in Benue, other communities should begin to think, how would they give support? It will help. You see, the approach these people normally have is that first and foremost, they know they don't have a place they can call their own, like I said. And they need power. They cannot exercise the power on vacuum. They need a space. That's why they want these things. They mobilize themselves, they mobilize resources, and then they launch attack. And this is something we can also do. It's a very simple thing. If we don't want to fight, we can defend. But allowing a community to suffer this kind of a thing, and then we come here and gather year in, year out, without providing a solution, I think it's something we need to be doing. So that if something, in fact, even if it's rumor that something is about to happen somewhere, each community must have prepared either one or two persons that can be sponsored to go there by whatever needs so that they can assist them. By the time they come and they discover if there's resistance here there's resistance here, and they are seeing so many faces, they will understand that something different is happening. So I will appreciate if this conference will adopt that every nationality should be able to have one or two persons that can stand in to volunteer to give themselves to go to any community when there's any problem for us to assist. That is one. Secondly, he spoke about the issue of security. It's another issue that we can look into. The presence of the military men in the various communities has given a different dimension and a different narrative entirely about our security around this area. I was speaking with one of the military officers. He was telling me that I said, based on what we know, state, based on what we had, the Fulani for long, and other tribes. We've never had this kind of problem. The highest thing you could see is just maybe if they have this animal, damaging crops. This is the one. But in this case, they are looking for a space, and it's going to be very difficult for some of the tribes. So why can't they leave us? They should pack their things and go back to the barracks and see. Let's see the day they will leave and see whether somebody will attack another person. He said, no, if we leave this place now, you know, these people are all over the world. They can call their members, they can come here and do. I said, there are also people all over the world. You can also call them to come over. Just go and see whether this attack. Where did they get gun? Where did they get uniform? All these things, you are the ones in charge. But they are being, allowed to be taken by civilians. So I think if this conference can sort something, if there will be a voice in this conference that will agitate for the military to go back to their barracks, let them go and stay. We can now test them and see it's going to be a litmus. Let them go back and stay and see for a year or two if this thing will continue. Now know what the problem. And then thirdly, if you look at the conference, if you ask questions, basically somebody will tell you doesn't have transport to come over here. And I think we have to change the mentality. If we really want to go, we must sacrifice. This conference is here. Every community should understand that a day will come in a particular year that we are come for a conference. For you to begin to organize yourself, look for transport. If you know you're far, it can be shifted to a different place. We begin to plan towards it so that every nationality should be present. And we should also contribute from our pocket. We always wait to look for these politicians. We are the ones that encourage them to steal. You will always wait for them to steal, to get money in millions. The little money we can contribute here individually to the coffers, it will help. Somebody is there as the conference chairman or president. You might be thinking otherwise. But if you feel there's something he's doing, you can go there and see what he's doing. I feel every nationality should begin to think of how we can be managing this movement with the resources from pocket. Little money we can contribute can help the leadership to speak up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the rest of the questions will just briefly address a few questions.
I don't want to address anything. I want to appreciate you for all your contributions. I think this is, we're talking to ourselves, and all the contributions are in good faith, except the meaning of army. In simple language, it means unbeliever. But I came across the meaning when I was doing a research. I found it in the works of Dr. Kalku, the founding missionary of Conaecda. He was a medical doctor, but also very anthropological in some of his writings. He wrote so many books, and I took time to read them. He said that he encountered Arabs from Tripoli, and he interpreted army as dog. That was the interpretation he gave in his work. So then I debated this also with some people I worked with, including my external examiner, who told me that was the first time he heard that interpretation of the term. But it is documented that the Arabs, when they say army, they're referring to dogs. But that's not it. Let me tell you something before I drop the microphone. All of us, we come from democratic and egalitarian backgrounds. And we are not haters. We don't hate anybody. All right? At the same time, nobody has the leverage to hate us. And nobody should begin to spew words of hate to describe a people. But to be honest, we are not against anybody. We stand for our people, our traditions, our culture, our heritage. That's what we stand for. And as Nigerians, we stand for what is due to us as a people in the Nigerian Federation. It is time for us to discover ourselves. We need to discover ourselves. You know, the biggest problem of the slave is that he doesn't know he's a slave. And so he is happy with the status. We need to discover ourselves and free ourselves. For Marley sang, we should emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but we can free ourselves. Thank you very much.
Okay. The SIL representative. SIL is the group that deals with our languages. So they are very serious partners.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Wufo. I'm the Partnership Director of SIL Nigeria, and I'm representing my entity director, Mr. Sakara Yoda. So he's supposed to be here, but we are heading for our staff retreat. We do that annually. Everybody is preparing to move away, so I have to quickly come here so that I will join them at the retreat. I want to thank the organizer of this program, Conaecda, and also the chairman of the occasion, every other person, no protocol observed. SIL, Summer Institute of Linguistics, we have it in over 100 countries. We have the one in Nigeria, it's called SIL Nigeria. We love to see people flourish in their communities using the language they speak. best today. And as I was listening to this communication, I said, wow, it's good. Nigerians are taking on the challenge to make sure that they are established within their culture. And for your information, I'm from Igbo land, Igbo, but my mom is from Yoruba land. So Mogoyo Bagada, and by God's grace, I've been in Jos since 91. And God has helped me to go all over many languages within the north. And some of your villages have been there. So, and doing the work as God has sent us. So I want to thank you all for giving us this opportunity. Let's just keep talking and keep acting. One day we'll see light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, languages. The first thing they did was to attack our languages, isn't it? So we don't even identify ourselves again. Once you don't have a language, you are gone. Your identity is lost. And that is why Conaecda is taking it very serious. We need to revive them. My own children, I married from Latvia, but unfortunately, my children cannot speak my language. It's a very serious one. It's a very serious one. So that is already affecting me, isn't it? So we need to work on our languages, please. Now, we've listened to you, all the issues raised. I think that's why Conaecda is existing. We cannot get all the solutions in one day, but then a step at a time. And I assure you, I listened carefully when my brother from Benue was, we're in Nasarawa, we're neighbors. The thief, my two brothers are there because they've dominated Benue so much, and it worries us a lot. And you know one thing, one of my colleagues is launching a book on the languages, Moro, Latvia. One Kanuri man called me last week. I was with him when he called him. He said he hopes that in that his book there is Hausa Fulani. He said no. He said he hopes that there is no thief in that book because thieves don't belong to Nasarawa State. They are supposed to be there. I said, So after that, I told him, I said, look, how can somebody from Borno, how many states did he cross? He's telling us who should be our neighbor. Who doesn't know that there are thieves in Nasarawa State? Who doesn't know that there are thief people in Taraba State? Must they only be confined to Benue? We share a common boundary. But somebody from Sokoto is telling me that the thief man here is not my brother. And I agree to that. And that is what is holding us back in Nasarawa. They determine who should be our own one. So that is why we need to wake up. And that was why I made that comment earlier. I said, we must live together. We must live together. We gather like this together, but we don't live together. Living together means we must accommodate one another and understand ourselves properly. So if we do that, Kaduna State is down close to my local government, Wamba. So if anything happens to me before I go anywhere, I must what? Is the Kaduna man that is in around where is this place? That is closer to me, that will help me before I even contact the Egon man that is in Nasarawa. And then you tell me that no, you try to put one barrier between me and my neighbor. That is not acceptable to us. And that is why we're in Conaecda. We must understand ourselves. Once we understand these rudiments, I'm telling you, they have no place to hide. They have no place. I know we have Atiap land, we have Jukun land, we have whatever land. I've never known, I don't know whether anybody knows where there is Fulani land in Nigeria. Where is Fulani land in Nigeria? We have Hausa land, we have Yoruba land, we have Igbo land, isn't it? But how can someone that doesn't belong come and force you not to? It's unimaginable. Look, we must wake up and embrace. embrace one another. Enough of this barrier, I'm wrong, I don't like the Magabu, this, I don't like, no. We must embrace one another, whether we like it or not. We must learn to live together. I think this is what Conaecda stands for. But if we're in Conaecda and we still see the differences, then we've not started. We must banish these differences and see ourselves as one. That was what happened in the last election in Nasarawa State. For the first time, we all agreed that we were going to work for an Egon. They always put fear that if Egon wins, that we will be lost. But Egon is in Nasarawa State. It's an indigenous of Nasarawa. So what is wrong with an Egon becoming the government? Yes, it's the largest ethnic group. So what about that? For the first time, we all agree, and this is the result. Even though they are still fighting, they've gone everywhere. The caliphate has come, but by His grace, this time around it will be different. So we must. So may God help us. I think on this note, let me formally declare this the 2023 conference open. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, sir. We have a woman who wants to contribute. A woman wants to say something.
I want to thank our keynote. You have, as the keynote, you have given us the issues to discuss. We are very grateful. I want to call our Secretary General to come very briefly. The things we have done, the things we have achieved, and where we think we want to go, particularly within the context of the message you gave us here about organizing, having a voice, becoming a bloc, becoming a people to be recognized and contented, or contended with. So, briefly.
It's already afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I am not going to take much time. Some of the things I'm going to say, I'll do much better later. But for the sake of many of our guests who are here for the opening ceremony, I need to just highlight a few of those issues. There is a paper that I've written that I've produced into a small booklet. Peter, please can you get me one of those dynamics and implication of the unity of Middle Belt and Nigeria? Just quickly, let me have that. It's more of a historical analysis of the Middle Belt movement. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in the way we use various terminologies. People have asked a lot of questions. So, the book is just out. I've not sold a copy, just brought it recently. So, if you would like to have a copy of it as you go, you can pick it. It's simple, but it contains a lot of issues, including how to manage these diversity-related problems in terms of how to organize. So I have a few copies there. I will give a few to those I can give to, but the rest of the people, if you like, you can pick a copy. Now, what is Conaecda? In the past 10 years, we have actually been building a system. and the system we've been trying to build have developed programs of activities to cover many areas of our community life, issues of our indigenous rights, issues of our land rights, issues of our networking and communicating and working with various communities. Many of those resolutions that have been taken have led to the development of programs and units. And I want to say that many of these units are right now in their formative stages. Some of them have not picked up very well, some of them are picking up, some of them we are working on. And this is the Conaecda prospectus. It contains information about what Conaecda is, the programs we run, and the activities that are there. We have soft copy of it which will be circulated on our various social media platforms. And you can always have the soft copy, it's free. But we are not yet strong enough to produce many of these. This one, as you see, is direct image produced and it costs 2,400 to produce one. So we are limited in our ability to distribute it to people. But if you want to have a copy, you can have. But the soft copy are available. So everyone who is here, who will have your WhatsApp number, will send it to you. You have your email, we can also send you a copy. What have we been doing in the past 1 year? Of course, a lot. Last year, our calendar year starts from from October when we have the conference and ends in September ending when we are preparing for the last conference to come. So which means from now, our next year has started. It's going to be from this October to the end of September next year. That is when our program should be. Now, we had the Conaecda conference last year, and we took a lot of strategic decisions on how to manage, especially the transition period. You know, it's an election year for us. And because it's an election year where most of the states, the national election will take place, the major thrust of our activities in the governance and political affairs program and office were set in motion. Of course, we resolved at last year's conference that we will not adopt any political party at the national level. And we will allow people to come and tell us what they have in stock. We will educate our people so that they are informed to make informed decisions. We will also let each and every one of the political candidates and parties to know our position and where we stand. Of course, we had engagements at different levels. The chairman of the advisory committee on minority and indigenous peoples affairs was directly responsible for most of our discussions with people at the high level. Of course, we're able to have meetings with the candidate of the PDP in terms of Abubakar Atiku. That took place in Kaduna, where Prof was able to interact with him along with the leaders of the communities in Southern Kaduna. We were able to have discussions with Senator Bola Tinubu. Those discussions took place in Abuja. And we were also able, though we did not have direct discussion with the Labour candidate. The reason was largely because some of our own people felt they should be the ones responsible for any discussion with the Labour candidate. But we had engagement with the Labour Party, with the PDP, and with the APC. And we made sure that we presented our charter of demands to all the political parties at the national level. The Labour Party visited us in Jos, not the presidential candidate himself, but a team. Their National Intervention Committee came into Jos, met with us, and we presented the charter. The APC decided to hold a large town hall meeting which took place also here in Jos, and many of the leaders from the communities came and attended, and we also presented the charter to them. Now, our main thrust is that our people should decide what they will, and the decisions of our people were taken. Whatever people wanted, they voted. But we also took the decision that we are going to make sure that only people who are going to protect our interests should emerge as senators, members of House of Representatives, members of State House of Assembly, and governors in our various states. That decision was left to each state to take. And at various states, I know, for instance, in Plateau State here, the decision was not to adopt any candidate because all the candidates are our sons and daughters. I think in the case of Adamawa, some of them took some decisions and they said, Nasarawa was here, Kebbi, Niger, and many. And I'm glad to report to you that right now, in almost all the states in the middle belt in central Nigeria where the minorities are, virtually, with the exception of Gombe and Nasarawa, what I mean Nasarawa, the governors that are on seat now, with the exception of those two states, all the states, the governors there are indigenous of those states, and they are natives from those states. Now, whether it is what the people like or not, that's not where we're going to. But we have also started engagement with those who are in government to ensure that we push forward our agenda and see how we succeed. Within this year also, we have set up the National Legislative Liaison Office for Conaecda. Unfortunately, the senator who was the National Liaison Officer is not able to return, not because the people did not vote, but the party did not give him the ticket. So we will be, with the new people in office now, we will be working to set up that legislative arm, that the office again, and identify the right people who will serve in that capacity in the National Assembly. We also want to ensure that that is also done in the various states. These are largely issues related to politics. Our major concern was that there should be peaceful transition. We do not want something that will lead to war and chaos and confusion in the land. Because, as somebody said, we have had all sorts of governments. At least we are still alive and we can work to change things. So we work to ensure that the election and the transition was peaceful. We did not know who would win. And we were not committed to say, look, this is the person that all of us want. Because that mandate was not given to us by the conference. Within the year, we've been able to do a lot in terms of interventions, mostly in terms of the early warning and early response system. The early response system is where we get signals, information, possibilities of attack, and we're able to relate with that, whether with the security agencies or the communities or those involved. And that, as you know, is a security thing, so I'm not going into details. But we've been able to do what we can do in many areas in terms of these interventions. We have also started the pilot program in terms of rebuilding, rehabilitating, returning communities that have been displaced. The pilot program, which we're starting here in the Plateau, we had workshops with 3 communities on the Plateau, and we started developing the strategy on how to get them back to their land and how to ensure that the lands are secure and people go back. We'll continue to work on that. We've also been engaging with the United Nations Indigenous Rights Program and UNESCO on issues related to the decade for indigenous languages. For those of you who remember, that was the theme for last year, and we're working on that. I'm also glad to let you know that the advocacy activities we've been doing, especially being coordinated by Professor Andrew Haruna at the national level, where he's been engaging with many other linguists, has resulted into, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, the production of the Nigerian language policy. So right now, for the first time, Nigeria has a new national language policy. I'll tell you one of the highlights of the policy. It says all languages in Nigeria that are indigenous are equal and at par. So there's no issue of majority language and minority language. The issue will be the implementation of the policy. But it is that implementation is now on the responsibility of local governments, agencies in the local government, state governments, ministries in the state government, communities, federal government agencies, ministries in the federal government. By implication, it means if you are the local government chairman of your local government, you have the instrument to develop and maintain the local language in your community. And nobody will now come to you to query you. I told somebody, I said, it's very easy. It means the official language of Lankan North and Lankan South is now Arok. If you want to, it is left to you. If you choose not to, you shouldn't blame anybody. The official language, I think Pangshi have many languages, so they can have modern languages. But the implication is that the official language of Kanke is now that. If they refuse to do it, it's their own problem. They should not blame any Hausa man, Yoruba man, Igbo man, or anybody, because they can use it for education in schools. They are entitled to use it in the local government council. They are entitled to use it in wherever they want to use it. The policy has now given provisions for that. I'm just giving you an example of some of the things that is there. So these are some of the things we have done. And we've continued working on the CFA program. The aim of it is to ensure that we are able to get, just as it has been raised, let us finance what we are doing. Because if we cannot finance it, it will not work. Thankfully, Prof is here. Professor Nelson Gomwok is the chairman of the CFA fund. Nobody will tell me that he cannot trust us with money. Prof is a prudent man, he has his integrity. He retired as a vice chancellor and he chairs that committee. I don't think anybody here can hold money more faithfully than Prof is going to hold it. So if we are not contributing because we choose not to, and that contribution, at least we're working on it and we're beginning to do some things related to that. We have visited many communities. We have also had workshops and seminars in various states, in language and in other things like that. There's a lot I cannot detail completely. We have also prepared a lot of manuals and documents, which, if you request it, we send it to you, but there are some that will be sent to communities as we move on. We have also started implementing the Autonomous People's Authority. The implication of it is that, based on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, you have the right to have an indigenous government. But please, when I say government, it does not, it means it is not an NGO. It means it is not an association. It means it is not a business. It means it is an authority established with power to legislate, to take decisions. I hope I'm making some sense. To interpret the laws, to have a constitution, and to have authority over a certain given area. That right has been given to us. So we have drafts of the constitution of manuals, and we have started work on that. At least we have trained 3 communities now. Part of it, we are now working on developing their constitution. We hope we're going to have more volunteers and resources so that that can be replicated across all the communities, because it is your right. You are a people within the Nigerian state, and you are entitled to have your freedom, your land, and to preserve yourself. This is something based on the provisions of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Another thing we've been working on is actually on the cooperatives. I'm going to talk more about it later when we come to meetings within the days. We are working on that, and we started trying to push communities to do that. So one of the things we hope to do, based on the committee, the cooperative committee, is that we will be living here with MOUs being signed with some communities so that we organize the cooperatives along the community lines. The necessary documents and instruments are there, the committee is in place. A committee working on the establishment, last year we passed a resolution on establishing the Cooperative Development Bank. And so a committee has been set up, we have been working on that. We have secured the name for the registration of the bank, and we have started the process of registration. I will give more briefs when we come, because there are decisions that we need to take on the way forward. The idea is that we will be able to have all areas, whether it is in agriculture, animal husbandry, buildings in the communities, and things like that. So a lot has been taking place. And I also want to let you know that the company that we have agreed to start on terms of the market, we have done quite some work on it. The buildings are there, that's where the Conaecda office is now located. And we hope that we're going to be able to, with the cooperatives, we'll be able to connect, and we're going to have the branches of these markets across the country very soon. We already have branches in some locations, and we already have people who have donated lands for the purpose of establishment. The report is lengthy. The work we have done is much. Of course, one of the major challenges is limitations to resources. But then I may not be able to elaborate everything, but I feel this will give some of our visitors who may be going back a little bit of a highlight on some of the things we've been doing through the year. And we're trusting God we're going to continue to do more. Many of our state branches, forums have been actively working. Some of them have engaged, some of them right now have their offices, some are I finished my report for now. What I'm going to give is, some people want to clap for me. It's not for me, it's the secretariat. I think one of the things I will need to do is, we have a lot of volunteers in the secretariat and staff. Some of them are around helping in one way or the other. I think, please, if you are a volunteer or a staff in the secretariat, let me explain something to the secretariat, including Prof, who is the chairman of the CIFA. We are all the people working with the secretariat. So if you have an assignment, a volunteer or whatever in the secretariat, please don't stand up. The report I'm giving includes you. Dr. Ba, are you not the chairman of Livestock? Stand up. Prof, sir, are your secretary? Stand up. Secretariat staff and volunteers, can you stand up, please? Some of them are. Yes, they're part of the secretariat. Imagine they are even part of the secretariat. Can you stand up? You are still, you are national president. We should leave you for now. So there are many other people that are in the secretariat. And Mr. Abokaji, are you not a volunteer in Conaecda Secretariat? You don't want to stand up. Please. What is your name? Jigat Takani. You are not in the secretariat. Are you not the state coordinator? Please, if you are a state coordinator, stand up. You are all part of the secretariat. Judge. Yes. Please, the reason why is, see Mr. Duffy, who is national coordinator, lesson officer. Please, the reason why I'm saying this is to know that when you hear of the secretariat, it's not just me that is there. Danny that you see here is not established as a volunteer in the secretariat. It is all of us that are doing different work. There are many others that are not here, who for what other reasons could not attend. So I want to, as the Secretary General in the office, thank all of you for your cooperation and your work. But I also believe that we should see them and give them a wonderful clap. Please, the clap is not for me. The report are giving, they are the ones that are. Thank you, sir. Please sit down. It's advice, it's talking, it's discussion. Most of these things you see me talk about, whether it is the decision on what to do in terms of political affairs of these, many of these elders, many who are not here, will sit, will discuss, will take decision, and will work on it together. Thank you, and God bless. Please, this is just by way of announcement. We're finishing the closing ceremony, we will take a break. Our guests will be able to go. We will now move into the plenary of the conference when we resume from break. Please, if you are not a secretariat volunteer, if you are not a permanent representatives should know themselves. That's you are representing your community officially here in Jos. It is required that you register in order to participate in the conference. Just as you hear us mention, please, this conference, as I talk to you, we have no single kobo that is a donation from anybody. So it is the money from the registration that we use to feed everything we do. So we'll appreciate that. Please, if you want to continue to participate, you register. This year we here, watch and see. And get institutions from which they are. So please, the students, are you around? Can you stand up? So they are here participating as president of their cultural association students organization that are here. Please thank you. And I think we will want to see that young people participate actively in the conference. And we want to also improve on the women. They're supposed to actually be purely women, but they are supposed to be participating. And the reason why most of the people here are men is because most of the time it is the men that are the presidents of the association. Secondly, please, we're providing you with food. Those who, everybody who registers, you are entitled to breakfast, to lunch, and to dinner. I hope it's clear. The money for accommodation takes care of accommodation only, but the feeding is incorporated into the registration. Some of the materials for the conference we're going to give you, those of you who have registered, will be able to have the material. But there are some that are bulky that we're going to be sending it to your email. And we will try and send everything that we have soft copy to your email. The reason is that we want you to use it. So that when you go home, whether it's for research or whatever, you can use it, you can reference it, you can, it's not like you're right, but you can turn it around, okay? So that the message moves. Isn't it therefore? I believe that you would like your paper to be presented in another function. So he said yes. So please, we want the message to go across so that people will listen. So we'll send you the soft copy and things like that. We are going to take paper presentations because what you see us are doing now is actually live. So people are watching on YouTube. So we'll take most of the paper presentations live. When it comes to the times when we're going to have more detailed discussions, in order to ensure that you have the freedom to talk and we don't get people misbehaving because of what we say, we are not going to have the entire program live. When we come to some of the discussions, we will limit it to just those of us who are. But as much as possible, those who are participating, because there are some people participating in the conference from outside, we allow them to do that. And we're also encouraging people who have contributions to make, who are not physically here to be able to make their contributions online. We will take note of what they are saying and we'll share it so that it also forms part of our final decisions and community. Please, our break is not going to be long. We're going to take 1 hour break from now, which is 2:18. We're going to be resuming the conference activities by 3. And when we come by 3, Please, we're going to stay up to 6 before we round up for today. Then by 6, those who are, because there are people who are not staying in here, they can go back to where they are staying. The National Council will also be having a meeting. As you know, the tenure of the president has expired. What do you call it? No, it expired. Ended. So the tenure of the president is ending in this conference. The new president of Conaecda is they have done 2 tenures, so we cannot do more than that. So a new president of the conference is back. Please, every state is entitled to 2 delegates at the presidential council. It's usually the chairman of the state and the state coordinator. So if your state coordinator is not around, let us know. I hope I'm communicating. If the state chairman is not around, let us know. It is expected that you have to be represented. So please, if they are not around for any reason, those who are delegates here can agree on those who represent them at the National Council, because it is an electoral college. That's where elections take place. And there, apart from this, there are many other offices that will need to be filled. So we'd like people to be there so that the meeting will take place after we close for the evening. That's sometimes around 7 after we must have taken dinner. I think these are the announcements that have. We'll close for present. So we're closing for now until we resume by 3 o'clock. Please, I'm expecting that the food is around, but if it's not, I don't know why. The food is ready. So food is ready, so as we go out, we can eat. Please, whether you are a visitor, a guest, or whatever, there is food for everybody. So please, Rose, please, some of our dignitaries and elders, I don't know, can we arrange a place? I think we have some tables here. Go, please, while the others can eat around, we have some tables here. Our guests at this can just be by the side where they can eat. Once again, thank you and God bless you.